Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the areas on your bike where you can add cheap parts, not spend the money on the designer things, get all of the same functionality you would out of those, not compromise any safety, and save that money for things that do matter. Now, I know some of you have some brand loyalty to the parts you put on your bike and even your bike itself, and you may not be into it, not spending, not buying the expensive stuff, and that's okay. But for those of you that want to save a few dollars here and there, this is a video for you. So stick around and I'll talk about ways to put cheap parts on your bike that are equally as functional and save that money for parts that do matter. All right, the first item that I find ridiculous to spend a lot of money on is the kickstand foot enlarger. I don't understand why some companies are charging $60, $80, I've seen it as much as $100 just to enlarge the footprint on the kickstand. It's nothing more than a chunk of aluminum that's been threaded and a cover plate that goes on it and a few screws. Now, if you look around, you can find these much less expensive. And because all it's doing is holding up the bike and it just has to sit on there, as long as the screws stay in place with a little bit of Loctite, I don't see the point in spending a lot of money on something like this. So you can find these on Amazon, eBay, a lot of different places. Now, I know the brand name companies are probably going to be upset, not that they watch my videos, but really, why would you spend $80 when you could get away with something that for $25? So that's the first item that I think is a great place to save some money and where cheap is just as effective. Next item that I think is incredibly difficult to spend a lot of money on is a headlight guard. Now, these headlight guards can reach up to $300, I think, if you go with the BMW one. Now, before we get too far into this, I want to make a note that as far as I know, headlight guards like this are not DOT approved. So when I go off-road, I prefer to use this. I think I picked this headlight guard up off of eBay for about $50. It does what I need it to do. It deflects stones and rocks and whatever else is going to come up and break that light that's behind it that costs over $1,000. And it didn't cost a lot of money. It bolted up pretty easily, and the plexiglass that's on here, if I need to replace it, it's pretty easy to replace. I could cut it out myself. So I don't think it's worth spending $200 or $300 when I could get something that works just as effectively when I ride off-road for about $50, $60. Now, this particular headlight cover, I believe the one that I got was from, I think it's RS Moto on eBay. If I can find it, I'll leave a link. But this is a guy out of Russia who's a motorcycle enthusiast and is making this stuff himself. All right, while we're up front, the next item I want to say that I find it ridiculous to spend a lot of money on is a windscreen. I have broken a number of these and I refuse to pay $250 to $300 for a windscreen. And if you go to the BMW shop, which I have done, they charge over $500 for their touring windscreen. So I'll only spend the bare minimum because I know that the chances of breaking this are really high. Also, like for this particular screen, this is the GV screen, I needed to form it to fit better here so that I had clearance for my hand guards. So I took a Dremel tool and carved this out to fit the way I wanted it to. If I've spent hundreds of dollars, $300, $400, I don't know if I'm gonna want to take a Dremel tool to it. So this is another area where I don't think spending the high amount of money is worth it, especially because, as you can see on this one, I just recently broke it. I've dropped the bike when I'm off-road. It happens, and sometimes the screens go down in an awkward way and they break. So that's another way to try to save some money in adding and or replacing parts on your bike. All right, the other item that I find incredibly challenging to deal with is tank bags. I still haven't figured out why tank bags from the big name companies cost $250 to $300. I've spent that on several different tank bags, and I have found that within a year and a half, I've broken those, they've worn out, something's happened where it can't be fixed, and the cost of that is it's ridiculous. So I've gone to using more cheap tank bags. This one I fit to a GV tank ring so it could just pop onto my tank, and it's nothing special. It costs $50. if the zipper wears out like the other tank bags that I spent 5 times as much happens, then I'm much more comfortable replacing it. I still haven't found a tank bag that I think is durable enough. I'd much rather replace something that costs $50 to $80 every couple of years than replace something that's costing $250 every couple of years. So for me, tank bags is another area where I can save money when I add stuff to my bike. The last item I want to talk about is phone holders. There are some really expensive phone holders out there, and I've used a variety of different ones, but I have found the cheap phone holders like this one here is just as effective as the others. Now, I mount my phone on the handlebars up front, so it's easier for me to see, and if I need to, I can swivel it around. Some of these have some little rubbers that you pull up and over to hold it, and it's worked just fine. This one, just with the clamp pinch, I have ridden a lot of off-road on this bike and my other bike without having any other rubber things on it, and it is held in place just fine. I do some navigation by the phone, it works just fine, but this was $18, maybe $20. I don't see the reason in spending $80 to $100 on a phone holder, and I know there's a lot of those out there. Thanks for watching. Those are just a couple of places or areas for parts that I've put on my bikes where I think you can save some money, still get the same functionality out of it without having to spend a lot of extra money. Now, I know there's going to be some of you out there that are going to be grumpy about me using off-brand items. These are just places I try to save some money, and put your comments down below if that's a problem as well for others to read and see. It's just what I choose to do, and I know some of you guys are getting back into riding and you're trying to find some parts and pieces to add to your bike, and this is a way to save some money. Do what you need to do and still enjoy the sport that you enjoy doing, which is riding motorcycles. It's getting cold out here. I think it's about 42 degrees with wind. There's snow up there on the hills to my right. I'm gonna head back home with some heated gear on, and I will see you out there.